It's time for
DodgerHeads. What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by special guest Todd Leitz. You may not recognize the name. I guarantee you recognize the voice. He is the voice of Dodger Stadium and has been for quite a while. Todd, we appreciate the time after what I'm sure has been a busy month for you, so thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to be with you, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Back-to-back World Series champions. As a member of this organization and a guy who's in the stadium, it feels like every single night. Has that settled in yet for you?
I would say yes, because, it's back-to-back. Last year when the Dodgers broke through and won the 2024 World Series, that was very special because no one could say anything from there. There's no asterisk. There's no tainted. I don't want to hear any of that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Totally. And then to go back to back, it's such a wonderful feeling. I've been walking on air for a couple days. We had the big celebration and parade at the stadium and through downtown LA yesterday. And that was just the greatest way to kind of wrap up the championship with all of our fans. The place was packed, full of energy. All the guys were so happy to be back in the stadium and to be able to speak to the fans directly. It was just a fantastic day, a fantastic series, a fantastic season, and a fantastic team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to get a little bit of your backstory because everybody recognizes your voice. But as we were preparing for this, I asked myself this question, and then now I'm just going to ask it to you. You've been the PA announcer for the Dodgers since 2015. How does somebody become the PA announcer for the Dodgers?
I don't know. What happened with me is it's kind of a long story. I mean, I never really thought I would ever be a PA announcer. I kind of had dreams of being a play-by-play announcer when I was a kid. But then I started a family. I'm like, I can't travel all over the country doing that kind of thing. So I got a job closer to home being a radio news anchor and reporter. But I tried out for the San Diego Padres back in 2014. They had an open call down at Petco Park to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Petco Park. So I just told my wife, hey, I'm going to go give this a try. It'll be fun, So I went down there, and it was like an open cattle call audition, kind of American Idol style. Thousands of people lined up around the ballpark, and they did this open call audition. And so they kept whittling it down over the course of, I think it was between February and April. It took them that long to find the guy that they wanted. I made the top 3, and they told me that I was number 2, which you know what that means, like the color of the Padres uniforms. So I didn't get that job in 2014. I was like, oh, that's a bummer, because I really thought I had it. And I learned how to be a PA announcer from doing that job. We called opening night, portions of opening night at, the Dodgers actually came to town. That's one of the first times I met Rick Monday. And then the next year after not getting the job, I heard that the Dodgers might have a part-time opening or a fill-in type opening. And I just reached out to them and said, hey, I'm your man. I just went through the process with the Padres. I know what I'm doing. I'm your guy. And they said, well, hey, why don't you come down and call the College Baseball Classic, which we always do in the preseason. There's a doubleheader of the top college baseball teams, and USC and UCLA play a game as well. And so I did that, and pretty much I think I got the job right there on the spot. And it was, we talked back and forth, but after spending like months with the Padres trying to get the job and not getting it, and then and I didn't know what I was going to do if I got the Padre job. You know what I mean? Because I live up here. My life is in Los Angeles. I've been here for 40 years. I didn't know how I was going to like commute down there for every homestand or anything. So I said, well, we'll worry about that when I get the job. And then I didn't get the job. So after all that effort and not getting it, I went out one day with the Dodgers, and they pretty much, Lon Rosen reached over to me and he said, we're going to need you for the Angel series. And I was like, wow, okay. And then after talks and discussions and negotiations, I finally formally was announced as the PA announcer for the Dodgers, and right before the 2015 season. So that was a thrill. I never, I felt like I knew what I was doing, but I was following a guy that had been there for 13 seasons, and I didn't want to shock the fans by being too different. So I kind of like leaned into kind of a straight on thing. And then as I got more confidence and more time in the chair behind the mic, I kind of started to develop my own style. And that was really fun.
Yeah. Some people saying blessing in disguise. You didn't get that San Diego job. Their loss, our gain. Safe to say that things have worked out better for you in Los Angeles than they would have in San Diego, huh?
Yes, and thanks, DC. I appreciate that. I've always said that was a blessing in disguise. And I always have to thank the Padres for giving me the opportunity and the training, really, to learn how to be a PA announcer. So thanks, guys. But thanks for not hiring me, too, because, boy, it's been quite a string of success since before I got to the Dodgers. But, ever since then, it's been amazing.
Yeah. You mentioned 40 years in Los Angeles. Were you a baseball/Dodgers fan?
Oh yeah, man. You can't help but be a Dodger fan when you live in Los Angeles. But most folks that know me well knew I grew up in New England. I grew up, south of Boston, and I grew up a Red Sox fan. So I suffered mightily with the Red Sox in the 70s and the curse and everything. So I was a big baseball guy. So I sang the national anthem at Fenway Park. I went to their fantasy camp. So I was into that. But it was real easy to become a Dodger fan once I was in Los Angeles, because the Dodgers are Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is the Dodgers. So it's been really fun being a Dodger fan for a long time. And I'll tell you this, when the Red Sox came to town to play us in the 2018 World Series, there was no split loyalty there. It was all Dodgers. I didn't care. Yeah, exactly. Lifted. I did not root for the Red Sox in 2018 because I wanted the Dodgers to win, because we had just been ripped off from a World Series championship in 2017. And I thought, we got to get this one. And so there was no question in my mind.
DC wants to know if your dog partied harder than Freddie Freeman over the last 48 hours.
Well, he's had a big day. He had some snacks, took a couple walks, drank some water, and now he's just exhausted. So, yeah. He's just mellow.
I love it. Well, take us in on a game day. I'll ask specifically about postseason World Series, but like when you get to an average, Wednesday night game at Dodger Stadium, what does that day look like for you preparation? Because on one hand, I'm thinking, on the Dodger side of things, it's the same names basically every single night. Obviously, the other team, you've got a new roster, some new pronunciation. So what does that couple of hours before game time look like all the way through the end of the day?
Well, I get there early because I don't like to deal with coming in with all the traffic and stuff. So I figure if I can, I'll come in at 2:00, get there by 3, something like that. Get myself set up in the booth. Enjoy watching the guys work out, see who's doing what. Gives me an idea of who's going to be in the game. If like Miggy is taking ground balls at third base, there's a decent chance that he might be in against the lefty that night, or if Hye-Sung Kim is working out at second base or something like that. So that helps me just get into the baseball space. And there's so much more that goes into the game than just the game itself. Of course, I work for the Dodger Vision crew, and we're the people that, with all the cameras and microphones and the sound system and everything that people see and hear during the games, all the videos, all the prompts, let's go Dodgers, all that stuff, all comes out of Dodger Vision. And we do a pretty hefty pregame ceremony. And some days it's like voluminous pregame ceremony with lots of recognitions and first pitches. There's always, of course, the anthem, and there's always a ceremonial first pitch, and there's always somebody who says it's time for Dodger baseball. So all that stuff has to be figured out. A lot of that stuff is, dignitary type people, so that I want to be real careful that I identify a military official correctly or something like that, or a consul general of Los Angeles for Japan or something like that, and have them properly identified. So there's a lot of that going in. A lot of times I have I work harder in the pregame than the actual game. I mean, it's Los Angeles, so there's celebrities that come out throwing out first pitches and doing all kinds of stuff. So there's my script that I have to kind of get taken care of, and make sure that I know who's who, and it's more than just the players' names. It's pronouncing all the different people, because say you get to come out and throw out a first pitch on behalf of Frito-Lay or something, and it's just your one moment to throw a first pitch at Dodger Stadium, and then the PA announcer misrepresents your name or mispronounces it and has your title. You know what I mean? It's like I take it very seriously that this is like a once in a lifetime chance for some people to have this experience, and I want to make sure that it's as good as it can be. So we work really hard to make sure. So I go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I ask questions, and I demand answers from my producer and the other Dodger departments that contribute to our show and stuff. And like, are you sure this is the LA City Fire Honor Guard, or because it looks like the LA County Fire? And these things are little things, but they're big things. So I spend a lot of my time doing that, and then I just talk to some of the reporters and get myself some dinner, and then fill out my scorebook and my lineup sheet. So I always hand write out my lineups, so that I've got it, just right down in front of me. And then I fill out a scorebook because I keep score for every game. And I have some weird, idiosyncratic, superstitious kind of things that I do that I've done for every game. Like, for example, in my scorebook, there's a place where you can put the logo of the teams, so we have the LA logo and then the Toronto Blue Jays logo on their side. And I hand draw those out. And I started doing that a few seasons in, and I just kept doing it. And now I have to do it. So it's like, here I am sitting there drawing out the Toronto Blue Jays logo, which, by the way, is one of the harder logos to draw properly. That one's tough, as well as the Baltimore Orioles is tough. So there's a couple of them that are tough. And I remember my producer once looked at me and said, "Hey man, for drawing out the LA logo every day, you're not very good at it." But I've gotten better over the years. So those are some of the things that I do to get myself ready for the game. And pregame starts about an hour before the game, so we're into an hour-long show before the game even starts.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this: the hard work that you do and the effort and the fact that you care deeply about all those little things that comes across in the stadium. So I think that speaks volume, because 81 of these home games, like, it'd be easy to mail one of these in on a Tuesday night, halfway through July. But I love that you recognize how meaningful that is for the people on the field, because when it becomes routine for some folks, it would be easy to not. So I love that you take that time and care.
Thanks for that, Jeff. I appreciate that. And yes, I mean, for me, I know that we have a different audience almost every night. Yeah, there are season ticket members, and we love them. But there are people that are coming to maybe their one and only Dodger game of the year. And just like the Dodgers want to put on a good show for them, we want to put on a good show. And more over the years, especially over the last few years, every Dodger game has become more than a game. It's an event.
Yeah.
It's an event. It's a place to, like the old Lakers Showtime. It was a place to see and be seen, so the amount of celebrities that were at the ballpark during the World Series, could you believe that? I mean, people like Leonardo and Brad Pitt and Sydney Sweeney and all these big stars. It's like crazy.
Yeah. What was the World Series like? I mean, obviously you've done a few now, so you've got some experience under your belt, but how much more do you feel the pressure of the World Series? I mean, to your point, the Dodger games are an event. You're already doing the Dodgers. Every game is a big deal. But when it gets to the World Series, how heavy does that burden feel on your shoulders?
It's heavy because the eyes of the baseball world are on us, and the eyes of MLB are on us. So MLB takes over our show in the postseason, and they determine which of their sponsors and stuff like that are going to be featured. And so there's certain things that we don't do as a result during the postseason, and we do what MLB kind of tells us that we need to do. But we still do a lot of the elements that we would normally do. So yeah, there's a lot more pressure. Obviously, the press box is packed with visiting media. You see all the great baseball people that you read or you follow on social media, and they're all there, And it's kind of like the All-Star game was, because everybody was watching this one game, and the World Series is a lot like that, more than really anything else. But it never gets old. It's always different, and I feel I've done 5 of them, 4 technically, because we didn't really do the 2020 World Series because it was at Globe Life Field in Texas in the bubble for 2020. So I've done a few World Series now, so it's great to have a few of them under my belt, and I'm like, I can handle it. No, whatever it is, if it's reading the lineups live on national television, or introing a ceremony honoring the life of Fernando Valenzuela last year, right after he passed, right before the World Series, all that stuff. It's like having experience is a big deal. Having done it, having been there, and it's the same thing for the Dodger players. You could tell that they were the more experienced playoff team by the way they handled all the things that came at them during the World Series, and that's why they won, frankly.
Todd Leitz, PA announcer for the Dodgers, the voice of Dodger Stadium, joining us. As we've mentioned a couple times, folks, if you're in here live with us, go ahead and start throwing some questions in the chat. If you've already posted it, we've got it. We're going to start compiling a list. Todd's kind enough to give us 15 to 20 minutes of his time afterwards. I've just got a couple more questions before we turn it over. I have to ask about the 18-inning game. I mean, you mentioned you're getting there a few hours before. You've got pregame stuff to go, and then you've got to be perfect for 7 hours. I mean, talk me through that night of your life.
That was a crazy night. Always the first game that you play in a World Series at your ballpark, you're going to introduce, as a PA announcer, you're going to introduce the entire organization, from the traveling director of traveling operations to the soft tissue specialist and the nutritionist and everybody on down the line, plus then do the starting lineups. And then there's a kind of a big pregame show as well. So I always look forward to that, because I'm like, hey man, I get to get a little shine as a PA announcer and get some national TV time. Like, let's throw it to Dodger Stadium PA announcer Todd Leitz for tonight's starting lineup, and that's a big deal for me, because I'm hidden up in the booth most of the time, and so that's always very exciting. I even wear a coat and tie that day to the game, so I'm ready for TV if necessary. So that's a big deal. So I put a lot of energy and a lot of focus on that. And then we get into the game, and it's baseball, and nothing is scripted. Everything just happens, and you gotta be on top of it. So an 18-inning game, I have to say that this particular 18-inning game was the most challenging, nerve-wracking, and just flat out difficult game that I've ever called. There were so many pitchers used, so many that Yoshi Yamamoto almost had to come in, at the end of the game. Thank God he did not, because then he had something left in the tank for that extra innings for the 7th game of the World Series. So, but that game just, with so many missed opportunities to score, so many fly balls that died on the warning track, so many chances where we're going to say, okay, they're going to finally end it now. And hey, not to give you too much information, but I don't get to get up and take a pee break or anything. Because if it gets to that point, I'm going to be in there for a couple minutes. I'm going to miss something. I can't just run it. So I didn't pee for at least 6 or 7 hours, and I didn't eat for like 12 hours. Because I had a little something before the game that I was nervous, and I couldn't really eat. But I couldn't really eat, so I ate at 11 in the morning, and I didn't eat again until after midnight or something. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing was that Freddie Freeman was able to end it finally with a walk-off home run. Who else but Freddie in a game like that? And it was that was elation, but it was tough. It was those aren't easy, and double headers aren't easy, but 18 straight innings, that ain't easy either, because you got to be on it. And we try to give them the same energy from the first pitch, whether we're up 10-1 or down 10-1. We try to give them the same flow so that when they come up to bat, they're like, yeah, I'm ready. And, some of the players probably don't even pay attention to any of that stuff, but I know that they really care about their walk-up music. And, every time I meet and talk to some of the players, they're always really, surprised and happy to meet me because, you're the guy. Okay, cool. And I asked them about pronunciations. Like I remember I asked Kike Hernandez, Kike, is it okay if I call you Kike Hernandez? He goes, yeah. We only use Hernandez so white people can pronounce it. That's what he told me. And so, so I'll ask them, and sometimes they'll say, well, I don't know. And I'll say, well, how does your mother say your name?
Yeah.
I remember talking to Teoscar, and, in conversation, I call him Teoscar, but his name is Teoscar Hernandez, Teoscar. And because everybody calls him Teo, right?
Yeah.
Teo. So I'm not going to say Teoscar Hernandez, which is what they might have done in the 60s or something, but Teoscar Hernandez, so I try to pronounce their names as they were intended to be pronounced. And sometimes I get a chance to talk to them and sometimes I don't. And I suppose if they didn't like it, I'd hear about it. Because when we do make mistakes, we often will get a call from the dugout like, hey, that guy's whatever the mistake was. So
love it. Let's start it here. Dr. Eggman asked, here we go. Freedom says, bleed blue since a little boy, now 70. Mr. Leitz, what was your greatest moment as an announcer? He said his favorite from an announcer is Vin calling Kirk Gibson's home run. Do you have a favorite moment as PA announcer for the Dodgers?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good question. Thank you, Freedom 499. And thanks for bleeding blue for so long. I have to say that, one of my favorite moments was sticking it out for 18 innings back in 2018, the first time there was an 18-inning game, and hanging in there because I knew somebody was going to end it, and announcing Max Muncy before he hit the homer. I also really enjoyed doing the 14th inning stretch during both of those World Series games. How many people can say that they've had two World Series games that went 14 or that went 18 innings and then you did a 14th inning stretch in both of those? So those were kind of favorites. But like I said before, announcing the starting lineups for the World Series live on national television on Fox has to be right up there as some of my favorite moments. And somebody right before that asked if I'd ever messed up. And dude, yes, I'm human, for God's sakes. And I've made some good ones, and I've admitted this one before. There's Dr. Eggman. Have I ever messed up? Oh yeah, a lot of times. Sometimes it'll be because of a distraction. Sometimes I'll get the wrong information. Sometimes I'll tell you the one.
I was going to say, there's got to be one good story that sticks out in your brain. Maybe
there
good
is.
Wrong
There
word.
is. This one I'll cop to. This is pretty funny because people called me out on it right away. And this was back when Joe Kelly was with the team. Actually, his first stint with the team. And he was coming out of the bullpen. And every time he pitched in that early time with the Dodgers, he'd screw it up somehow. Something weird would happen. He'd hit a batter. Somebody would hit a broken bat dinker. And just, and these are late in the game, so they were significant things. And all this weird stuff would happen. He was really stinking it up as a Dodger, and it was surprising. And so one time he came in late in the game, and he was just not doing well. And I listened to the broadcast. I can hear it in one of my headphone ears. And Joe Davis would just said, "Hey, it's Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser welcoming you to the booth, blah, blah, blah." And I just heard Joe Davis say his name. And there comes Kelly. And I'm like, fans, your attention, please. Now pitching for the Dodgers, Joe Davis.
Oh, no.
And Justin Turner goes over to Joe Kelly. I think this was before the umpires would check everything on them before they come in. And he went right over to Joe Kelly and put his arm around him. And they both had a laugh, probably at my expense. Like, listen to that idiot calling you Joe Davis, man. I guess you're Joe Davis now. Anyway, that seemed to cut the bad magic. And he came in and he threw a shutout inning. I think he even got the win that night. And then from then on, he was pitching well. So I don't take credit for that. I cop to the fact that I made a mistake, big mistake, right? When you call a Dodger player by the wrong name, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I love it.
So I think I messed up on Matt Kemp one time too. I think I called him Jeff Kemp. And I don't really know why. Maybe because I was thinking of Jeff Kent. Maybe I don't know. I just call and then my people were looking at me going, "It's Matt Kemp, you dummy." But hey, you're human, so every once in a while, you're going to misspeak, and sometimes you misspeak in front of 54,000 people. But that was one I really remember. But you know what? You have to be practically perfect every night, and I don't. Yeah. I really pride myself on not making a lot of mistakes at all, and but they happen.
I love it. I love it. Dong wants to know: were you ever part of a barbershop quartet? I know you are in a band, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a singer. I love to sing. I was a part of a master chorale, which is a 100 voice classical choir, and we would sing things like just all the classical and sacred kind of music. And I was a bass, and I really didn't have much experience singing that type of music because it's very complicated, and there's no way you can memorize it all. You really need to read music. But as soon as they heard that I could hit a low F, they were like, "We're not letting you leave the room." This was in auditions. They were like, "No, you're not going anywhere." And I learned a lot from doing that, and did some really amazing performances. We performed at the Shrine Auditorium, being directed by Dudamel, and it was just doing the Mahler's Ninth Symphony. Just some amazing experiences in that group, but never a barbershop quartet. But I am a front man and a harmonica player for a band, so I've been doing that for quite a long time. I
love it. Core is the name, right?
Yeah. We're kind of having some personnel issues right now. Okay. Nothing I can talk about publicly, but we're kind of looking for a new drummer and bassist, and so if any good drummers that like classic rock type, progressive, jazzy, bluesy type stuff, then hit me up.
Find him. Wendy wants to know, what's one of your favorite memories as a PA announcer?
Well, thanks, Wendy. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, but definitely, the World Series, that's a favorite memory. I'd like to say that doing the All-Star game.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
In 2022, I'd like to say that was one of my favorite memories, but it wasn't. It was really, really hard. Yeah. And as a PA announcer, it's almost a nightmare. First of all, I got bigfooted by Joe Davis on the starting lineups. He did them live on Fox, and I was miffed about that. I was like, oh, hey, but of course it's Joe Davis, so what are you going to do, right? But the rest of the game was really hard because guys are in there for a half an inning or something, and then they're out, and I want to give them their due and get them in there, but there's so many commercials and stuff like that going on in stadium. I didn't have time to get 5 guys in per inning. It was really hard, and I remember it being very hot at that time. So All-Star game, not one of my favorite times, but it's nice to have that under your belt. But definitely the World Series games, the postseason excitement, just on a big moment, hearing the crowd erupt, like when there's a big strikeout with the bases loaded and 2 outs and we're up by 1 or something, just that roar of the crowd. Vin Scully always said that that's what kept him coming back for 67 seasons, and I see why.
Yeah. Let's see. DC asks, do you have to write people's name down phonetically to remind yourself how to pronounce them? Like what do you have in front of you when it comes to names?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I'll just put a little accent over what the syllable that's going to be emphasized. Sometimes with a name that that's in a pregame ceremony, I'll write it out phonetically with small case letters, lowercase letters, and then capital letters for the emphasis. So that'll show where I'm emphasizing. So sometimes I do use a phonetic thing, and I got that from radio, where we would write out the what we call the prono. For the person's name would be either next to it or on the side in the margin somewhere, so you'd have an idea of what it sounds like. But usually I'll look at it, figure it out, hear it, and then I got it. So that's just kind of one of the things you got to kind of do as a PA announcers, get that down pretty quickly.
Stephanie says, I can't wait for Todd to say this upcoming season, you're back-to-back World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. I have to ask, have you practiced yet? Do you want to give us a little trial run of this one, Todd?
Stephanie, I don't have to wait till then to say it. I can say it right now. You're back-to-back World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Soon to be a three-peat.
I love
Let's
it.
not get ahead of ourselves, though.
I do have to say, we have lots of people with specific requests of things that they want to hear you say, or names, callbacks to old names. So stay tuned for that.
All right.
Hawaiian Kira asks, what has there been a particular name that is challenging for you? It seems like sometimes the language, it's not that a word is hard, but for some people, some names or things are hard. Is there one for you?
That's a great name. That's a great question because there are a couple. There's like, I think there was a guy on the Reds, and his name was Eliuris. Oh, what was it? Eliuris something. Arianza Eliuris, and it was really hard to come out of my mouth. That was a tough one.
Ahir Adrianza. I don't know how to pronounce the Ehire was a guy.
Yeah, that one. That's the one. How did you find that?
I just Googled Adrianza because I was like, oh, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Ehire Adrianza. And I knew how to pronounce it. In Spanish, the H is usually silent. Ehire. And we had, who did we have this year? Esteuri Ruiz.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily tough, but you're right. Sometimes some names just don't come out of your, the shape of your mouth right,
Yeah.
But for a long time, I in radio, you have to pronounce people's names right, because if you pronounce like the president of a country's name wrong in a newscast, you lose all credibility. You just sound like an idiot, So that was really, really important. So that was great training for what I do as a PA announcer, to make sure that I pronounce them right. And sometimes I get it wrong, but most of the time I check and look into it. And some names are just weird, like Rugned Odor. Remember Rugned Odor?
I think there was somebody in the chat that wanted you to pronounce that one. So there you go. They got their wish.
Oh, okay. They're going to test me. I like this. All right. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
Jake wants to know, have you ever gotten emotional announcing someone's final game or a moment that got to you? Because one thing that I feel like, in my experience, you do an incredible job of is kind of staying the same. Not like monotone, but just sort of like it never seems like you're too high or too low emotionally, energy-wise. So how do you manage that in emotional moments?
Yeah, that's some of these some of these moments of silence for great Dodgers who've passed, the ceremonies where we honor people like Fernando Valenzuela, those are emotional, and it's really hard to it's almost impossible to sing when you're getting choked up. And it's really difficult to announce when you're getting choked up too. So you really kind of have to suppress that emotion. A lot of times with the military hero of the game, which is a very important element of our show, every game we honor a military hero of the game. And I get the script the day before and I edit it and I do some research and add some juicy details that I think would be interesting to the audience to know where this guy was stationed or where this woman fought, or get some. And we have World War II veterans, and they're disappearing every day. And so when we get this guy out there that was at Pearl Harbor or something like that, and he's 100 years old, there's just something about that. Even though I don't necessarily come from a military family, although my grandfather was in Germany in World War II, those get emotional for me, especially when we're talking about a Vietnam veteran, a Korean War veteran, or a World War II veteran, because they're precious. There's precious few, and when I see these guys, how they react to what we're saying about them, it gets emotional for me. But I have to control it. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm wiping my eyes after I get done with it, and hopefully I have just enough of the emotion to show that I care, but not that I'm up there being a blubbering fool. So it's a fine line.
Wendy asks, how do you take care of your voice? Are you drinking tea, water throughout the game, something else?
Well, I drink a lot of beer. I'm still celebrating. Come on. I just drink water during the game. I always have my little lucky carafe with me, and I like ice water. And they always say, don't drink ice water. That's not good for you, but I like it. Works for me. And I just take little sips as I need them. I don't want to drink too much because I'll have to need a bathroom break or I'll get uncomfortable during the game. And so I just, and as far as vocal care, you got to stay healthy because your voice reflects a lot of your health. It's the same thing with singers or anybody who uses your voice on a regular basis, especially when you're pushing it. Even though I'm on a microphone, we got a big sound system. I got to try to be heard over 50,000 screaming fans. So I'm pushing it. I'm projecting out there, even though I'm on a microphone. So you got to be healthy. I just take care of it with, I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I like when I get sick, I don't lose my voice. I don't get laryngitis, knock wood. And so I'm blessed with a pretty healthy, strong vocal instrument. And it seems like my voice gets better as I use it, and so as I warm up, I actually get stronger and better. And
love it.
But yeah, you got to stay healthy and you got to stay hydrated to take care of your voice. That's very important.
Scooter asks, I remember for both years of the Hollow Live nights, I was impressed with how you pronounce their names. How challenging was that for you, and how much time does that take? Yeah,
great question, Scooter Booter. Because I know how rabid those fans are, and I know how I could go viral for all the wrong reasons on that stuff. And so I didn't spend all that much time on it, but I just was very careful with it and really tried to be clear about what it was supposed to be. And because I knew the Hollow Live fans were out there, and I didn't want to let them down. And that's not something that's in my my realm of consciousness. I was like, what is Hollow Live? I don't even know what this is, So so it's been great because that kind of stuff kind of keeps me young, keeps me with the culture that we're in, and so I enjoy that. But it was challenging and it was scary because I know how you fans are.
Yeah.
You really
our
love
admin,
it.
by the way, going back to your voice and you talking about it getting stronger. They said Todd is the Yoshinobu Yamamoto of PA announcers. So, there's no rest days required for you.
Oh, that's a tremendous compliment. Thank you so much.
KO asked, who is your understudy? Somebody else asked, what happens on days when you're unavailable?
Well, I didn't miss a game this year.
Okay.
I've only missed 6 games in 11 seasons.
Wow.
3 of those were because of my daughter's college graduations. And 3 of those were because last year my wife and I were celebrating an anniversary. We went to Fiji, okay, and we missed 3 games of a weird little 3-game Colorado homestand. And so my understudy for those 3 games was a woman named Nancy Morataya, and she works in the Dodgers Spanish language commercial traffic department and does some radio voice work and stuff. And so they said, okay, she's gonna fill in for you, so train her up. And I did, and she was ready, and she did a great job. And when I finally got to look at my phone, several days into our trip to Fiji, because we were on a tiny little island, and when I finally got to look at my phone, it blew up, and everybody's like, "Where's Todd? Is he dead? Is he sick?" Because they never said, "Hey, I'm in for Todd Leitz tonight." They never said that, and I should have trained her to say that, because that would have. But people were shocked by it, and so I realized that if I miss a game, people know, and that was kind of a compliment too. But I don't really have any, I don't have a specific understudy who would fill in for me if I got sick or something. I've never gotten sick and missed a game, even though I've called many games under the weather. I've called games with, a gash in my leg from getting sucked down into a river in Montana. I've played through a lot of injuries and stuff, but I've only missed a few games, and then I want to keep it that way. I want to make sure the Dodgers don't have to worry who's going to be their PA announcer. I want to be the guy that shows up and is there, is ready to go.
Cy said, listening to you feels like I'm at game 8 today. So there you
go.
You
are, baby. You are, Cy. Game 8 right here.
None wants to know, if they let you choose a walk-up song for yourself, what would it be?
Oh, There's a song, this might be way too old for you, a lot of you younger people, but there's a song by In Excess called What You Need, and it has this killer intro, and it's a banger, if I can use that phrase and not sound like a stupid old man, but it's really an awesome song. So What You Need by In Excess would definitely be one of them. And that's the only one I can think of right off the top of my head. But I remember when our DJ plays it, I'm like, that would be my walk-up song. So
I love it. Well, Shelly said she was at one of the games that you weren't there. She was sad. So you were missed, Todd, just so you know.
Oh, thanks for missing me, Shelly. I appreciate that.
History Man says, thank you, Mr. Leitz, for your contributions to the Dodgers. Let's send you out with this question. Chris wants to know if you have a favorite name all time to announce. Obviously, this isn't, necessarily your favorite player, but like, are there a couple names that rise to the top as far as your favorites to announce?
Yeah. Early on, I always liked Yasiel Puig.
Oh, yeah.
Yasiel Puig, I think, helped me find, and he wasn't necessarily a favorite player, but kind of was, because he was a pretty important guy of the Dodgers for a little while. But he helped me find my style, I guess. Yeah. When I would say Yasiel Puig, that helped me find, I don't know what I thought sounded right. And Yasiel Puig was good. And then when Max Muncy joined, I remember first few times I announced his name, Max Muncy. And I'm like, man, I hope this guy sticks around, because that was not guaranteed at all. We thought he might come on for, and then get sent away or something like that, like a lot of guys do. And I was like, I hope this guy sticks, because I really like saying his name. But currently, it's Shohei and it's Kike. When Kike came back to the Dodgers, and I started doing the Kike Hernandez, and just the applause, the screams, the swell that he gets when he's announced is thrilling to me. It's almost like, oh, they like what I'm saying. They like Kike, but still, it's and then of course, I guess number one has to be Shohei, because I think I posted a video of that Dave Stiles, one of our in-game hosts, took of me announcing Shohei Ohtani, with the music and everything, and it kind of went viral. It got like, I don't know how many views it's gotten so far, 2 million or something like that. And I got all these fans from Japan, all these people saying, we really appreciate how you say the Japanese players' names. And my social media following went up from like 2,000 on Instagram to pushing 30,000 today, within like a couple weeks. It was crazy. But there's something about when Shohei comes to the bat and that dun 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 dun, the Feeling Good song by Michael Bublé, and then the leading off the Dodger half of the first inning, designated hitter and pitcher number 17, Shohei Ohtani, and then it boom. There's something that must put some fear into the other teams, pitchers and fielders, like, oh man, something's about to happen here. So that's got to be one of my favorites.
I love it. Well, can you indulge me on two things that we say on our show a lot that are going to sound way better if they come in your voice than if they come in my voice, I can assure you. The first one is a play on, of course, Vin Scully's famous "It's time for Dodger baseball," but we say it's time for Dodger heads. Can we hear how Todd Leitz would say it's time for Dodger heads?
It's time for Dodger heads.
I love it. I love it. And then our last one, and this is my personal favorite, because after we started our show in 2020, and I don't know, it was just sort of an impromptu thing, but it was like a week or two. It might have been even the next season. In 2021, I started closing shows by reminding people that the Dodgers were still champs. They were still the champions of the world. And so right before game 6 of this last year, I said, folks, this might be the time the last time I get to say still champs for at least 352 days. Of course, now we get to say it for another year. So can I just get Todd Leitz to say still champs for me one time?
And remember, folks, the Dodgers are still champs. They are your reigning back-to-back World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers.
I love it. I love it. Todd, you are the best. We appreciate the time. Go enjoy, whatever, 150 days off or something that you get until the next season begins. Hopefully your voice gets a little bit of a rest, your body gets a rest, and we know you'll be back in that chair for opening day in 2026.
I'd like to say I can't wait, but I think it's going to be nice to get a little break from the stadium and just kind of rest on the laurels a little bit. I have a voiceover business and other stuff that I do in the off season, actually all season long, all year long. So I won't be. I'm not going to Cancun just yet, but I am going to take my family up to Montana. We got a little place up there on the Yellowstone River, so we're going to spend Christmas up there in Montana. Enjoy the beautiful Big Sky country up there.
I love it. Well, let people know. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people that would be interested in that. So if people wanted to hire you for something like that, where would they find your voiceover business at?
Well, you can find me at voiceoftoddalmighty.com. Voiceoftoddalmighty.com. There's some contact information on there. I'm also on Cameo. I do a lot of cameos. Yeah, it's at I'm on cameo.com/Dodgers_PA_announcer. So cameo.com/Dodgers_PA_announcer. So I bet if you just searched on Cameo Dodgers PA announcer, you'd find me on there. And I've done hundreds of cameos for people, shout outs and birthdays and, all kinds of different stuff, pep talks, everything. And I've got, hundreds of 5-star reviews on there. So
well, we all know why, Todd. You have hundreds of 5-star reviews because you're the best. We're very lucky to have you as Dodgers fans. So enjoy your off season. Enjoy Montana. Try to stay warm out there. And we'll look forward to hearing your voice in the spring. That's Todd Leitz, voice of Dodger Stadium PA announcer. Todd, enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, everybody. I love you, Dodger fans.
We appreciate it. That is Todd Leitz hopping off with us. All right, we are going to stick around for a little while longer and answer a few of your questions. That was awesome. I'll just say for myself, Todd, it's a privilege to have him on, and we're lucky. We're lucky as Dodgers fans. All the different people that we have that are a part of the broadcast, that are a part of things like that. So shout out to Todd for joining us. I know we had one super chat. If people have a couple baseball questions, we'll take a few minutes to answer some of those before heading out tonight. Jose with the super chat. Sorry it took us so long, Jose. I don't know if anybody has talked about this, but this is our third straight come from behind World Series win. Down 1-0 to Tampa, down 5-0 to the Yankees, down 3-0 to Toronto. We are always down, but not out, back to back. You're absolutely right, Jose. And I was even mentioning to just chatting with my wife, if you haven't seen it, the Fox Sports mini movie released earlier today. It's about 50 minutes, a walk through the entire World Series. It's awesome. But as somebody pointed out to me, in all three of the World Series titles since 2020, the Dodgers have been facing elimination at least once. In 2020, they were down 3-1 in against Atlanta in the NLCS. In 2024, of course, they were down 2-1 to the Padres in the NLDS, and then down 3-2 to the Blue Jays in the World Series. So 3 times the Dodgers faced elimination, twice against San Diego, 3 times against the Braves, twice against the Blue Jays, and every single time fended them off. So awesome stuff for the Dodgers there. Some more questions. Aaron, Jeff, what's your favorite underrated Dodger moment of the season? Mine is Shohei's walk-off versus Atlanta. I was talking to Matthew Moreno right before we hopped on tonight, and as I watched that Fox Sports mini movie, I had forgotten that right before Shohei Ohtani gets the double play, the first out of that inning was a perfect bunt down the third base line that Yamamoto fields absolutely perfectly and fires a strike to first base to get the guy by like a step and a half. So I know that wasn't necessarily like a regular season moment, but just watching that play on back, I was like, I had forgotten how impressive that little play was by Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So having watched the mini movie, I'll go with that for the time being. Let's get to a few more. We got about 10 or 15 minutes. If we've got some questions, I'll be happy to answer them. John wants to know, Jeff, what Dodgers merchandise have you bought after the World Series win? This all is with the asterisk of so far. This is what I have purchased because I know myself well enough to know that the good news and the bad news is I have a birthday at the end of this month and then Christmas is next month. So I'm going to say if you could have a birthday and you want some World Series gear, having an end of November birthday and then Christmas is pretty perfect timing. So far, I bought the hat they wore on the field kind of that tan one. I think that's sick. So I bought that. I bought a Yamamoto World Series Champions jersey because I needed some Yamamoto gear. I needed a World Series champ shirt with Yamamoto on the back. That was a no-brainer. 3 daughters, all 3 of them got t-shirts. What else? Oh, I bought the Nike. I really liked the World Series sweatshirts that the Dodgers were wearing the entire time. It doesn't say World Series champs, but it's just the World Series kind of almost in the Dodgers lettering. Unfortunately, Nike was sold out of the sweatshirt, but I was able to track down one of those shirts. So that's so far. We do have our friends at Breaking Tea who we've got to deal with. You can click the link down below. I believe it's Breaking Tea /DodgerBlue1958. Go ahead, check their stuff out. They have awesome stuff. They have this Yamagoto shirt that I've been staring down for a while. Our friends at Homage, again, you can check them out. They've got to wait kind of outside of the exclusive 2-week window. So in a couple weeks, they'll have their gear. I always love their stuff, and we'll be talking about it on our show. So that's what I've got so far. Also, the LA Times day after. I also bought like the yearbook that the LA Times does as well. So there you go. BMR asks, how many times have you watched the Rojas homer so far? We got asked last night which play I'm going to watch the most. And it was interesting because my guess is actually it's the Mookie double play just because it's the final out and then Yamamoto roars and all of that. But man, watching the mini movie tonight, that Rojas home run it's genuinely insane. I talked to my dad, who obviously has been a Dodgers fan for a long time. I believe he said like 63 was the first World Series that he remembered watching. And my dad, who is not one for hyperbole, he is not like a recency bias guy. We argue about Kershaw versus Koufax all the time. And my dad was like, this is the best World Series I've ever seen, unquestionably. And I asked him, I said, is the Rojas home run the biggest home run? And he was like, I don't know how you argue against that at this point, given that it was Game 7, given that they were 2 outs away. So I also asked him if the Pages catch was the greatest catch in Dodgers history, and he couldn't think of a better one. He was talking about some guy who dove into the stands in the World Series in the, I don't know, 50s or something like that, but crazy stuff. So I've watched the Rojas homer probably like 10 times, and there will be a lot more. DC asks, oh, here we go. Sorry, the admin. DC asks, how stellar is Freddie Freeman's dancing? Check out the Dodger Blue Twitter account. They posted a video from Mookie's house of Freddie Freeman doing the worm. I'm just going to say supremely impressed, Freddie Freeman. Supremely impressed because, man, oh, man, he nails the worm in that video, and it's fantastic. So shout out to Freddie Freeman. And I can't wait for that the content coming out of Mookie's house. Hopefully the alcohol was flowing and guys were getting a little loose because there's going to be some good stuff there. A bunch of guys on Jimmy Kimmel tonight as well, so that should be good stuff. As long as you don't have YouTube TV where you can't watch ABC, but thankfully all that stuff will be on YouTube as well. Dodger Blue, the admin, pointing out Breaking Tea and Homage links are in the description of this video. If you are going to buy some Dodgers gear, check out, again, Breaking Tea. They're a partner of ours. We appreciate them. I'm not saying this because they're a partner. Their shirts are awesome. They just released one with a quote from Kike yesterday about being an effing dynasty. They've got a sweet Kershaw shirt. They've got the Yamagoto shirt. So incredible stuff. And then again, Homage will have some officially licensed gear that comes out, I believe, in about 11 days. They've got to wait 2 weeks until afterwards. So some good stuff there as well. Folks, that is going to do it for us on Dodger Heads. Again, shout out to Todd Leitz for hopping in with us. We appreciate that. And that was a fun interview. Fun to hear his voice. Fun to hear him say still champs. Fun to hear him say welcome to Dodge. It's time for Dodger Heads. So we'll see if we can incorporate some of those audio clips into our show moving forward. As always, we appreciate you, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, for hopping in with us. We appreciate everybody. Check out DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on social media. We keep pushing it. The Dodger Blue app, that is where everything is at. And if you are new here, somehow, subscribe, ring the notification bell. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. That's going to be a big day for us. We've got some cool stuff that we've got planned for that. So check that out right here on our YouTube page. But otherwise, folks, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, go Dodgers. And you better believe it, still freaking champs.